Hello, everybody. I'm live. I hope you can hear me, see me. And this would be the episode 4 of a new perspective in Ramayan. And today is going to be quite an interesting journey as Ram is proceeding further in his life path. And he is going to encounter people going forward who share the similar journey with him, and that's exactly where we will be beginning our story today. I'm going to just take a while, so please hold on. Thank you so much for watching all the episodes of Ramayan, connecting with me, showing interest in something different, something new. Give me a minute. I'm going to be on live very, very soon. And let's see if you can see me. All right. So I'm on screen and I'm live. And let's begin. Today's concept is about kindred spirits and people who are born with the same life purpose, same goals. They have similar things, similar interests, similar destination. Now, you know how lives are planned. And in the last Philosopher's Stone book club, uh, we kind of had a good exploration on how a soul plans his journey on the earth based on where he is in his developmental stage. It's like uh, uh, how we plan our education depending upon how we would like to proceed, or what are our likings, what are the subjects that we would like to learn more about. And so similar way, but a little differently. So any being, whether it is this era or that era, any being who plans their journey on the earth, they have this various things planned as they grow, and this is all in some way pre-planned. And that's why sometimes we call certain situations, a certain um, forecomings in our life as our destinies. So people we meet, friends we encounter, some unknown people coming and supporting us, um, uh, the teachers we find, the enemies we encounter, the struggles or the challenges that we have to face. Somewhere we have chosen it, we have planned it as part of our life, including our parents. And in a direct or an indirect way, all of these people are kind of pushing us to, you know, make ourselves better, learn the very subject or um, a very side of our own self that we wanted to learn before we were born. The only thing that happens between, we are, we are planning our life, and we actually arrive on the earth, as as it's called a school, where we educate and move to the next standard, depending upon how you're performing. So in school we always strive to become better. The same way, when we come on earth, somewhere we kind of forget what we are here to do, or what all we planned on the cognitive level. But the road that we have planned stays the same. And that's exactly what happens with Ram too. So we're just going to get a little bit of recap, and then we'll explore what happens with Ram. So, well, now one thing that I would like to add here is that in this entire educational process of Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna, somewhere these four brothers also have special bonds with each other. So Ram and Lakshman somewhere, like the eldest and the youngest, have a deeper connection with each other, depending upon how their goals are. And Bharat and Shatrughna, though Shatrughna and Lakshman are twins, they have different bond with two elder brothers, depending upon the responsibilities they held in their specific life. So you will always find Lakshman and Ram moving together, planning things together, killing demons together. So somewhere, though in the story of Rama, Lakshman's role is not that descriptive, but he was also a very, very powerful um, person, equal to who Ram was, uh, in terms of strength and power. And he was a great supporter to Ram. Uh, like they have same goals basically in this journey, and one of the role he plays is to support the bigger role that Ram is going to play moving forward in this lifetime. So, well, after killing Tadka and freeing Tadka forest from those demonic, heavy, devilish energy, Ram, Lakshman, and Vishwamitra is moving forward, and they're encountering different hermitages, and on the way, uh, they are exploring different history of that land. Ram and Lakshmana are learning different esoteric knowledge and skills that Vishwamitra is providing and giving to them, as they're going to need all of the skills in the journey ahead. With all of that, on the other side, in the demon world, the killing of Tadka, who's like the most powerful demon and who had kind of ruled that part of the forest, and kept away the good vibes. Uh, the demon world was shaken, and they're like, who are these children who happen to kill somebody as powerful as Tadka? And she was well respected, I believe, in their world. And so some of the demons like Subahu chose to come and see, and kind of that revenge quality in them shot up, and they came to see Tadka, and sorry, they came to see Ram and Lakshman, and they finally decided that, oh, these are some, young little boys, and uh, we could definitely destroy them with our devilish power. And so they try really really hard, using all different manipulative powers to uh, kill Ram and Lakshman. But ultimately, obviously, so Subahu was skillfully killed by Lakshman in a joint effort, of course. And now these messages, it's like, when two powerful uh, people are to collide someday, the evidences of their collision or their conflict is also well set in the advance. And in that matter, the message of each other's greatness and each other's strength reaches with some or the other reason, or some or the other with some or the other situation, it reaches to uh, the respected person. And that's what happened with the killing of Tadka and Subahu. That Ravan, who was also journeying somewhere in the nearby region, uh, came to know about these two young princes who have been creating a havoc in the demon world. And he, being the demon king, somewhere decided that someday he's going to look into these two princes, and he's going to see how he can really come face to face with them. So he kind of decided. And I remember, I've already spoken earlier, that whatever you speak, whatever you intend in this era comes to existence only and only then you talk about it, you think about it. So uh, uh, these two princes with Vishwamitra traveling one forest to another, one village to another. On the way, somewhere, Rishi Vishwamitra happens to receive a message from a nearby kingdom, from the kingdom of Mithila, and his king, King Janak, one of the wisest king, equivalent to King Dashrath, who had who had prospered his country by supporting greatly to the farming, and the farmers were well appreciated in his kingdom. And he loved nature. He loved uh, nurturing good seeds. He loved nurturing his people, and one of the wise, bright, brilliant king who had a legacy of being gifted with a very, very strong and powerful bow uh, that was originally created for Lord Shiva in one of his wars against demons by the divine architect called Vishwakarma. So Vishwakarma is one of the gods who is called to be the architects for the divine structures. And it is also said that Vishwakarma, it's like anything that any knowledge that we know right now is headed from such great divine beings. And so all the information about construction, architecture, tinkering, creation of uh, any uh, any structure, any typically technology is somewhere inspired by Vishwakarma. He was the first person on the earth in our timeline who happened to reveal this information, reveal this knowledge to our people. And then, as as how this stories are heading generation after generation and reach to us, the same way this knowledge continue to travel. So carpentry, construction, um, all of these areas, and even in the present time, uh, those who are carpenters, those who are into any kind of a building stuff, they all still happen to pray to the god Vishwakarma, so that they continue to receive information and knowledge from him. So well, that's about Vishwakarma. Coming back to King Janak. So well, his grandfather's grandfather received this Shiva's bow that was called Pinak, I believe. The bows in that time also had names. Reason being, they were empowered and programmed with great strength and skill. Uh, so, you know, from they were different from normal bows, and it required a different technique for anyone to actually use them. So that was the trick with this bow. And many generations, even though Janak's grandparents had this, and finally it reached to Janak, the only thing Janak knew was to use this bow to pray and as a memory of Lord Shiva. They were not able to use this bow in any of their wars. They were incapable in some ways for using this bow. Also, this bow was made in such a manner that it was unbreakable. So for many generations, even after being passed from like many generations to Jana, before Jana, the 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 quality of the bow was intact. And Janak was well known for having this beautiful temple where this bow was kept, and it was um, beautifully, people prayed to it and received Shiva's blessings through it. Now, once while Janak was, since he loved, promoting new plans and strategies for his farmers, and he owed uh, great quantity of land for farming. He would be the one who would initiate any new, crop um, uh, planting ceremony, and on a certain occasion, like how we have festivities, farmers have their special festivities where a certain seasonal crops are to be initiated. And so King Janak would be invited in the village, in their country, to do the special rituals. And it so happened that on that very specific day, somewhere near the time of the birth of Ram, Janak, doing all these rituals on this beautiful farm, happens to hear the sound of a child crying. And um, it was quite uh, new for farmers and the king to, be disturbed by such a sound, but also, uh, they looked for where the sound is coming from, and somewhere in the middle of in the middle of that farm, in the middle of the field, there was a hole, and in the hole they found a beautiful little baby girl crying, asking for them to find her. And um, Janak obviously, just like Dashrath, he was also childless, and after having, after trying that, trying to look for this child's parents, finally nobody showed up, and Janak decided to raise this child as his own, as if the Mother Earth was giving this child to Janak to raise her and take care of her, nurture her the way he has been nurturing the Mother Earth. So he received it as a gift from Mother Earth, and he adopted this child and named her Sita. And being the only child for Janak, and his wife Sunaya, Sita was trained very well in uh, in various knowledge. She was also sent to some hermitage to get proper knowledge and education. So she obviously she knew how to, she was a great warrior. She knew how to use weapons. She was equipped with a great much of information about how Ram was trained. In the other episode, I talked about in detail kind of information, all the wisdom and knowledge that is being imparted to the royal blood, the royal family. The same for Sita also. She was trained in he's also here to win over Sita. And so, this Mithila is in the mood of festivity. Various kings and princes, like really, really handsome and old and all ages. And this is the time where, it didn't require you one to be only young enough to be married. So even the older kings would come and ask for a young princess's hand. Um, so now all of them are like trying to equip themselves with this kingdom, knowing how it be like, knowing more about how Sita is. Now there is this beautiful concept that I'd like to bring in here, and that is, when you're born with a purpose and you have a mission, and in this era, there is this word that we call meant to be. So anyone who's meant to be somewhere would find each other in the most mysterious way. So, and this is how even in the present time, like the people that we encounter, people who are meant to be in our life, or people who are meant to go, like they they are there or they leave simply because it's meant to be. And in this time, I would say, like how it, like we have the concept of marriage as we you know we worry that if I'll ever be married, or if I'll ever be finding a good groom who'd take care of me, or who'd love me or respect me or give me all the comforts of the world, or not. Or will I be happy? Will the marriage succeed? Will we understand each other? So many things around the concept of marriage. Most times, people enter with fear, with a lot of insecurity in the marriage. But this is a very different era, and why I want to highlight this part is because this is a time where the idea of actually finding the one who resonates with my frequency, the one who is the word we might would like to call as a soulmate, to find each other. And the person is really, really clear about that there is somebody um, who is going to show up on my way, and who I'm going to find, and we're going to have a journey together. And this journey is not about acting as a possessive uh, couple, not as trying to control each other, trying to change each other. This is a time where both uh, both in a connection, in a relationship, in a marriage, um, honored each other's journeys. They understood that both people have their own journeys, their own uh, uh, developmental stages, and they typically tried not to come in each other's um, journeys, but rather they would be a great supporter in each other's growth. Now, you understand? It's like, two friends. So let me give you two examples. There is one example of a friend who, who likes to support you, encourage you, push you forward to, for you to do better in life. And you do the same for the person. It's mutual. And on the other hand, there is this another friendship that you have, where uh, there is a lot of insecurity, there is a lot of sulking going on, there is a lot of immaturity in the connection, in the both, which is a connection that you would really like to opt for, the one that where there's a mutual understanding. And this is not an understanding with efforts, it's so natural, because you are vibing in that frequency which is same. It's very easy for the person to get each other, love each other unconditionally, to be there for each other even when you are in the distant. It didn't require the person to be all the time in front of them, to trust, to respect each other, to only do activities together, only do all the time having conversations on on phone or on chat constantly, to have that rapport, to have that respect, to have that love for each other. Well, that is the beauty. So the connection was deeper, more divine, more purer in this time and space, in this era. And that's the connection that you're going to explore. And that's why the name Ram and Sita somewhere, is remembered together even now, because the name has that strength for the purity they had in the connection, for the unconditional love and support they had for each other. Also, the name is being alive for so many years. The reason being, somewhere people who created a chant out of that, or they knew that this power of the names joined together would somewhere inspire people to have this kind of connections with each other, and this kind of a support in each other's journey. And how each other's journey, how they support, how they honor, is something that we're going to continue to unfold in the coming episodes. But well, now the day of the wedding ceremony arrives, and all the kings and princes are sitting right in this huge hall, where all the setup is being done. King Dashrath arrives, and finally Sita arrives. Vishwamitra and Ram and Lakshman are also seated in that hall, in that space. And finally, the royal guard announces that the trick to win over Sita's hand in marriage is to actually, you will find a huge bow, which is a Shiva's blessed bow, in front of you in this hall, and you got to, tie the string to the bow. And if you're successful to lift this bow and tie the string, then you are worthy of wedding Sita. And one king after the other happened to try to lift that bow. But as I said, no, there was a trick to lifting this bow. And unfortunately, everybody was focused, all the kings and princes who were trying to lift that bow, they were all focused on, showing their strength, showing their skills, and impressing the hall, rather than actually looking into how they can actually, uh, you know, what skills they should use to be able to use that bow. So that was something that was being amidst amongst all. Now, such challenges are also kept in this entire storyline, so that the right people find each other. Okay, the people are meant to come together, whose roads are intertwined. Ultimately, the king of the demon Ravan, who's like considered to be the strongest of all, uh, who is blessed by Shiva for um, uh, for living a long life. Nobody can kill him. He has all the planets under his control. So, nobody can write his destiny. None of the planets can write his destiny. Um, he and who the one who has the golden palace in Lanka, I mean, that powerful, that wealthy Ravan, and he thinks that, I'm being blessed by Shiva, so obviously I'm not I'm going to be the one who will lift this bow. It's going to be very easy for me. Who are these kings and princes? Obviously I'm the one who's going to wed Sita. And he arrives at this platform where the bow is kept, and he tries really, really hard to lift it. But as we know, unfortunately, even he missed this trick where he also left there has to be something. And so he actually blamed Janak that, this is, if I can't lift it, nobody can lift it. And that's where, Janak requested other princes and kings who had literally been scared that if Ravan can't do it, there is no chance that we can do it. Like, then nobody gets up after Ravan. He requested that if there is any bright and wise and worthy men in this court of mine who could actually lift this bow, then please come forward and show us your skills, show us your strength. And this is where Vishwamitra, because he obviously Ram and Lakshmana are the princes too, and they were of the age. So he asked Ram that why don't you go and try? And having no expectation in his mind, having no intention to show off his strength and skill, just because Vishwamitra showed him, asked him to do that, he went forward. And now he's not focused on showing off his skill and strength. Well, he thinks that he's just a learner. And so he very respectfully uh, bows down to the bow, and he asks the bow that what is a way in which I can actually lift you? Show me the way, show me the trick that would. So it's like he has this conversation with the bow itself, and this is a divine weapon. So if you how to actually create a connection with it, with devotion, with love, it will communicate back to you, and that's how you connect to anything divine. And so Bo showed him a way to lift it. And very soon, Ram was able to lift the bow, and the moment he lifted the bow, the environment of the hall changed. And then he tried to put the string on the bow, having no intention that he's showing off his power and who he is and all of that. Automatically, uh, as how the divine plan was, maybe, or how the journeys were, instead of actually just trying the bow and keeping back the entire, Shiva's go back on the place. It's on the platform. It broke with the sound of a thunderbolt. Um, and that sound was so loud that it shook. Um, it went way in the distance into all the people who were connected to Lord Shiva, and one of them was Parshuram. Now, there is an entire different story to Parshuram. So many years ago, uh, Parshuram, he had decided to. Uh, okay, now Parshuram is a Brahmin, he's a combination of Rishi and a warrior. He was born um, with, with a warrior blood and a wise Rishi clan. So, like, the combination of both. So, he is half warrior, and that time, while he was young, Parshuram was young, he had experienced some kings, going wild instead of ruling their kingdoms with wisdom and um, uh, as a duty towards their people, they'd fallen into some wrongdoings, and this is this Rishi Parshuram, uh, came to know about this, and his role in that time was to kind of slay those evilish, systems who were creating, generations of, such leaders. And so he went on with his Parshu, with his weapon, and did a lot of, you know, changed a lot of systems in the kingdom. And so he is supposed to be one of those angry young man, kind of Rishi, who happened to realize that, the Shiva's bow has been broken, and, he's a protector of, such divine weapons on earth. And so he, with his special gift, he happened to fly and travel to Mithila, that who is this um, person who broke this weapon, something that cannot be broken. Who did that? Now, on the other side, when this weapon is broken, uh, the entire, first, obviously, the entire court is shocked and happy. Sita is super duper happy because somewhere she knew that this is a person with whom she's going to, she's going to be proceeding the rest of her life. Her journey is with him, and this is how, we'll be able to, push each other to grow more, evolve more, challenge each other, and also meet toward destiny together. So, well, they had an intertwined destiny, and somewhere the beginning of the destiny is here by breaking of this vow. So, the marriage of two extraordinary people also happen to be very extraordinary and super magical. Now, Parshuram arrives, and he creates a lot of uh, you know he really he's really here with this rage that who did it, and how dare you do this to Shiva's bow. And ultimately he happens to meet with Ram, and Ram is another characteristics of Ram was he knew when to be what how he has to operate with a certain people. He knew that very well, which was one of his natural characteristics. And so when he sees Parshuram, he knows about him, and he knows that how he's going to win over him. So with his, words and with his wisdom, he actually shows Parshuram that this was meant to be, and he shouldn't be worried. you know, this this bow is not something that is going to die. The energy of the bow will not die. It'll be recreated, and don't worry about this. uh, Having learned that this, Ram is not an ordinary man, and also, his role is kind of equivalent to what he has been doing so far, slaying the wrong systems in various kingdoms that were, out of place, and that weren't actually uh, helping uh, expand and like create betterment in the world. Now he knew that somebody else has got that role now, and he went back very happily. So, well, that is how the wedding ceremony day was. And now, since Ram and Sita meant to be, Dashrath was sent invitation to come to my Mithila, and take Sita with him. So, well, the entire Dashrath family and Bharat and Shatrugna also arrived to Mithila, and the wedding takes place. And also, um, with Ram, even Lakshman, Shatrugna, Bharat finds their brides too, as Sita's cousins. And so, that one single journey of trying to kill this different demons, and trying to just face the challenge, and being ready to encounter bigger future, having the hands-on experience with all of this, also brought back uh, the life partners that were fit for them, and without any worry, without any any thoughts of who would come in my who would be my life partner, or um, how will we live together, and all of that. It just happened, a very a very magical, natural flow of meeting the one they were they were fit for. So I would that's where the kindred spirits were met. And it's so beautiful that each, like for Ram, for Lakshman, for Bharat and Shatrugna, each one met uh, the one who would really support their journeys individually, and they would respect their spouses equally, and support their journeys. So, well, this is how, without any tension, without any difficulty, very easily, their wedding was through, and all of them returned back to Ayodhya. And see, this the entire journey is of Ram and his purpose. It's filled with events, and that's why we find it so interesting. So when they're back, there is something else that he still needs to look at. He still needs to attain to that, and that is what we're going to address in the episode 5. So, well, I hope that I was able to give you a different angle. There's much more that I would like to add to just this um, idea of marriage and finding the one um, in more detail. But for now, let's digest this much, and somewhere in the future, maybe more on that topic. So take care, and I would see you next week with the episode 5. And meanwhile, enjoy the first 4 episodes of Ramayan. You'll find them uploaded on my YouTube channel, Alchemy of Being, as well. Take care. Bye.